Alright guys, here's something a little different today. We will install a OEM tow hitch on my 2020 MDX A-Spec. I will also install the OEM ATF transmission oil cooler, so we can bump up our towing capacity from 3,500 to 5,000 pounds. I'm doing this installation myself because Acura dealers would be charging around 3,500 Canadian dollars, part included for this job. I also found most of my OEM parts on eBay, so I could save a few bucks. My local Acura dealer was selling me the parts for around 2,500 Canadian dollars. I bought the whole hitch assembly and the auxiliary transmission cooler on eBay. I got the bumper garnish, the hitch harness, the transmission oil, and the ball mount directly from my local Acura dealer. It cost me in total 1,500 Canadian dollars. So I basically saved $1,000. If you have aftermarket parts, this might not be the same way of installation, but I will follow the OEM Acura installation guide. Alright, so first step that I didn't show, you're going to disconnect the negative pole from the battery. Then we're going to lift the rear of the car enough to be comfortable under. The next step is to remove the spare tire. Now that we removed the spare, we're going to remove the rear bumper garnish. We got some clips to remove and some 10mm bolts. Now, it's hard to see on the camera, but you got some clips there that you have to push down. So the garnish will unclip from the bumper. Here's the A-Spec tow hitch rear bumper garnish. Every part numbers used in this video will be in the video description. So right now I'm installing the new bumper garnish. And one thing I forgot to do before installing the garnish is to reuse the clips from the old one. So you just push it out and push it back into the new garnish. Alright, so next step we're going to install the harness on the hitch. But first of all, don't forget to cut out the knock out of the bumper garnish. So we're going to use the 2 black bolts and nuts in the kit. Use a 10mm wrench and tighten it up. The next step is the most difficult because you get to ask your wife to help you out. But once this is done, you're going to install the hitch. So just ask her to put the bolt in while you hold it up. There are 6 of them, 3 on each side. Pretty straightforward. So we're going to torque these bolts at 70 feet per pound. So once this is over, we're going to do the electrical side of the install. So we got this relay with this bracket. And we're going to use this tape that comes with the OEM kit. Just stick it right there on the bracket. Fold it over. Now we're going to have to remove this bolt right there. 10mm that hold the rear fuse box, and this bracket is going to bolt right under the fuse box with the same bolt. Just right there. And it looked like this. Now we're going to take this harness, and these two are relay. They also come in the OEM kit. So I'm going to take this part of the harness and connect these two relay inside. They are both the same, so it doesn't matter which one goes where. Now we're going to fish through the harness just that way. So the white plug goes close to the fuse box. And now you're going to take this relay plug and just clip it in the hole right there. At that point, you can connect this plug in the fuse box. Just like that. And you can also connect the gray plug into the relay. Now we're going to use the zip tie that comes in the OEM kit, and we're going to secure the harness with the other harness that is already in the car. So we can see the zip ties right there, the white plug and the gray plug. Now we got 4 blade fuses to install. The first up there is a 20, another 20 amp. We got a 7.5 right there and another 7.5. Now that it's done, we can route the undercar harness. Just secure the harness with a zip tie, right there. We got a floor plug to remove, just up there. Once it's removed, you're going to have to take a knife and put an X on the floor, just like that. And you're going to pass through the harness right into the floor of the car. Just push through the grommet, then pull it back down, and then you're going to clip the wire right there. Then you're going to use a zip tie right there. Now into the trunk. We're going to remove these grounds right there. Then you're going to take the ground from the harness, add it to the other grounds, then tight it right back up. Now, you're going to connect these white plugs together, and then we're going to fix the harness with the 2 remaining zip tie in the kit. So one right there, the last one right there. Now at that point, you can reinstall your spare tire under the car, then just put everything back in place. Alright, to install the ball, I used a pipe wrench and a Westcott to hold the ball in place. So now the most important part of the install is to hit the like button. This will be a big help for my tiny channel. Also, if you like tracker lapping videos, this is what we do best over here, so don't be shy and hit the subscribe button. Now let's get to the ATF transmission oil cooler. So I got most of these parts from eBay. They're all Honda original parts. First step is to remove the engine bay plastic trims. Then we're going to remove the front bumper. Also, don't forget to remove the negative pole from the battery. As you can see, I never removed the front bumper before, so I was kind of nervous and didn't want to break anything. Once you got all the bolts and pins removed, you really have to pull hard to pop it off. You're going to have to unplug the wires for the fog lights and sensors located down on the driver's side. First off, I'm going to install the oil cooler. You're going to have to use these three 10mm black bolts. Now we are going to fix this bracket on the lower part of the transmission. Alright, now the fun part. We're going to have to remove the transmission oil heat exchanger to add some T-hard lines. You can see one of the three torque bolts located on the top of the transmission oil heat exchanger. To give you guys an idea, this is how most of the front-wheel drive or transversal all-wheel drive ZF transmissions look like. Here's the OEM transmission oil heat exchanger. The one torque bolt that I was able to show you is located up there. There's two other torque bolts, one located down there and one around here. You're going to have to remove all three bolts without disconnecting the water passes up there. You can see here that the top one has been removed. This is the transmission oil heat exchanger loose, and these are the two hard lines coming out of the transmission oil heat exchanger that we will remove. I am stopping the video now because this is a very important step if you don't want to hurt your transmission. When you will remove the hard lines, there will be transmission oil leaking. It is important to use a clean countener to let all the oil in the exchanger drip. This way, you will be able to measure how much oil you lost and add it back later. Alright, so now, the way that I did it is to remove both hard lines brackets from the transmission. You should also be able to remove this one that goes up to the transmission oil heat exchanger from under the car. Now you will be able to pull the transmission oil heat exchanger from the top and remove the bracket that hold the last hard line. Don't forget to never remove the water line on top of the transmission oil heat exchanger. If you do so, you'll have to bleed the water system after the job. Once both hard lines are removed, you can install the new T hard lines into the transmission oil heat exchanger. After installing both hard lines, you'll be able to push the exchanger back to his location. As you can see here, both lines are close to their final location. Now, you're going to have to reinstall the transmission oil heat exchanger, and I had to use some tape on the torque bolt to be able to reinstall the lower one. You can see up there that I already reinstalled the bracket for the top hard line, and now I'm doing the lower one. And you're officially done with hardest part. Now let's run the flexibles oil lines. It will take some finessing to run the lines, but you'll get there. Once the lines are ran, you can push the male end into the oil cooler female part. You'll hear a click when it's sealed. Now we're going to install this line bracket with this 10mm bolt. You're going to use the other 10mm bolt for this bracket. And another one for this bracket. At this point, you can finally connect the flex lines to the T on the hard lines. They should line up pretty good, so there's no mixing up the lines. Now we are fixing the flex line on the first bracket we installed on the lower part of the transmission. This is how the lines should run on the MDX and the same transmission Honda Pilot. Since we added so capacity to our transmission oil system, we're going to have to add some oil. According to the internet, you should add half a pint of ATF type 3.1, so you have to take into account and add up the amount of oil we lost while doing the job. This is why I asked you guys earlier to catch all the oil dripping out of the exchanger so you can measure it and add it back to the system. Personally, I added around 800 milliliters total in the transmission. The fact that there is no oil dipstick stressed me out, so I later sent the car at my local garage so they could check the oil level. They later told me that there was a little too much oil into the transmission. So if you guys are thinking about doing this job yourselves, I'd probably recommend you to do the same, because I never find out the info on how to check oil level in this ZF 9-speed transmission. This is it, guys. You've successfully installed the OEM tow hitch and the transmission oil cooler. I probably will make an update video on the MDX later, so stay tuned if you are interested.